There was a car following us. It was an Audi. And somebody in the car said, make a U-turn. And as I'm going by them, I'm looking at them, they start shooting. One of my closest friends got shot in the face. This is the war era. This is the era that we are outside with, clips that hold 21 shots. And, we doing whatever we got to do. Yeah, we selling drugs, but we going to take some money too, though. We going to do whatever. I'm with that. This is what I was taught. This is how you handle everything violently. You got a problem with somebody, shoot them.
The rapper Maino is a New York City legend. He comes from the meanest streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where he grew up in the 1980s at the dawn of the crack cocaine epidemic. He and his crew hit the block at just 14 years old, robbing and kidnapping drug dealers and getting in shootouts with rivals from the neighborhood. He was that dude, a hard rock, a gangster. At 17 years old, he took a pinch on a kidnap and robbery charge and got sentenced to 5 to 15 years in prison. He didn't behave on the inside either. He ran every cell block on Rikers Island and in the baddest prisons in upstate New York, where he spent almost half of his 10-year stretch in the hole for slashings. It wasn't until the last few years of his sentence that he settled down and began to write raps. It turned out that he was nice. So when he got out of prison in 2003, he began to make mixtapes. He signed his first major record deal in 2005, and then in 2009, he finally achieved mainstream success with his first album, If Tomorrow Comes, with the hit singles Hi Hater and $1 Million. Since then, Maino has been one of the most consistent and prolific rappers to come out of New York, with over 15 studio albums to his name. Maino is truly a 1 in a million success story. A lot of people go to prison, and a lot of people try to rap, but very few can make it home after doing the hard time that he did and actually blow up in the rap game. Go check out his most recent project, The Lobby Boys with Jim Jones, as well as his radio show on iHeartRadio. I'll put those links in the description of the episode. Without further ado, I'm excited for this one. I've been a big fan since his first album. Ladies and gentlemen, from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, I give you Maino right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
We came up with the idea to take this person. He was the connect. Check the whole house. Everybody tied up. So for the rest of life, you're gonna remember him. He gonna remember you. You scarred him. I went to jail when I was 17. I got out when I was 27. If they knew everything I did, I would never, ever come home.
You're one of the few, real New York success stories in hip hop. Like a guy, I don't think people, even fans of your music, appreciate the feat of doing a dime in prison and coming out and actually making it. A lot of cats were in the streets, obviously, but they didn't have to lose everything before they got on. Right.
It's something totally different. Everybody is been in the street in one way or another, whether they was actually in it themselves or they were around people that did it. But to go spend, your young adult years in prison, and my story is the fact that I never rapped a day in my life. Okay? I go to prison 17 years old. I'm not a rapper. I don't do raps.
You never wanted to be a rapper?
No.
What did you want to do?
Be in the street for the rest of my life. I didn't have no aspirations, no dreams of being anything other than what I was already on the road to be.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's honestly, when I think about my life, that is really what's sad, right? So when you think about a lot of these young dudes, right, I relate to that, not knowing what you want to be. So had you asked me at 16, 17, what did I want to do with my life? I couldn't tell you anything other than what I was already doing. We out here, we gonna get it the way we get it. We get it. We selling drugs. We doing what we do.
You're from Bed-Stuy?
Yeah.
Okay. What part of Bed-Stuy?
From Nostrand, N.A. Rock.
Okay. So there's a couple of Bed-Stuys, right? No. There's the nice. Well, when I say couple, I mean I mean the Biggie Smalls, Clinton Hill, middle class Bed-Stuy.
Technically, where Biggie from is not Bed-Stuy. Technically.
Right.
Technically, that is not Bed-Stuy, technically, but it's
Clinton Hill.
It's Clinton Hill.
Yeah.
It's always been Clinton Hill.
And even when it was crack infested, there was still a lot of middle class black families that lived there in those nice brownstones. And 100%. Then, his mom was a teacher, an administrator or something. And then there's the Marcy Projects, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy.
Right.
Where on Nostrand,
my section,
how would you compare it?
My section is, so Marcy sits between Marcy Avenue, Myrtle Avenue, Nostrand Avenue. I'm Nostrand. So after Myrtle and, if maybe I want to say 7 blocks. So I might be about 7, 8 blocks away from Marcy Projects growing up.
Was it the hood? How would you
Hell
describe
yes,
it?
the hood.
Okay.
Louis Armstrong houses. I'm from a block called Clifton. You got Clifton, Green, Lexington, Quincy, Gates Avenue probably being the most popular of my area. It would probably be like the capital of the area where everybody heard of Gates Avenue.
Yeah.
Gates and Nostrand. So that would be, the block that was always associated with me early in my career. But technically, I'm from Clifton.
Yeah, I remember even recently, I f***ed up and got off at the Nostrand Avenue train stop.
Yeah. Nostrand and Fulton.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went right back down pretty quick,
It's not as bad. Things change, right? So Brooklyn has been the most developed part of New York, right? So when they started to really fix New York up, the first place they came was Brooklyn, right? And they started to develop these new buildings. You think about what Dumbo used to look like. Yeah. You think about what Williamsburg used to look like. As a kid, we used to go to Williamsburg as kids. It was a wasteland. Like, we was going over there, like, steal cars. Like, it was wasteland.
Yeah, it
right?
was just like warehouses and junkies everywhere,
right? 100%. Even Dumbo was similar to that. Yeah. Dumbo and Williamsburg was similar in as far as the texture, the way it looked. It was very run down. It was very industrial. They had a lot of old factories back there. And you remember, like, if you look at pictures right now, if you go on the internet and you Google New York City 80s, or, it looks so third world.
It's crazy.
Right? The abandoned buildings, like, we played in abandoned buildings. You don't even see abandoned buildings. They don't even allow abandoned buildings. Like, they knock a building down, they seal it off, and then they building right on top of there. We had lots, vacant lots and abandoned buildings to play in, to run through. You understand? So it was totally a different time.
Yeah, you might find a dead body.
No, absolutely. So then your building was a project building? Yeah, so the Louis Armstrong houses, they went up to the 4th floor. So it's on Clifton, Green, Lexington, and Gates. Okay. Yeah.
So what era did you come up in? How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm somewhere between somewhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm between not caring about how old I am and how young I'm not. You understand? Yeah. Somewhere though. I'm timeless though, man. I'm ageless.
So do you remember the beginning of the crack era?
Well, yeah, because my father was a victim of that.
I see.
So I was very young, but my father was a victim of that first wave.
What side of the bag was he on? Was he selling it or was he using it?
No, he was a victim.
When you say that, what do you mean?
So he was an abuser, right? So this is back in the days when I want to say, because listening to stories, right? When my mother would talk about my father's addiction, right? Because that first wave of crack hit us so hard, right? I don't know if they understood what they were doing prior to it being defined as crack, because I would always hear about them saying, "Oh, it was freebasing," putting cocaine in weed, putting cocaine in cigarettes. But then this thing came out where they was buying the rocks and putting it into this pipe contraption, this stem, right? So that first wave of the crack era, I want to say, if I had to put a date on it, I want to say 85, 84, 85, I think is when that wave really hit. I know that's when it hit us. I want to say my father, and I seen my household become really affected by that era, right? Things is not in the house no more. We go to school, come back and the TV gone.
Yeah, you go to sit down and you just fall on the floor. You're like, Dad sold the couch.
No, the couch stayed. The couch has stayed. I will say that. The VCR gone. The TV gone. He sold his car. But my mother always told me, she would say, but your dad sold all the stuff that he bought. Those are, it's not like he took your sneakers and sold them. Like he didn't never take from y'all. Right. So she always helped me to kind of like make sense of some of the chaos that we was already feeling like we was in, right? So like he's taking stuff out the house, but he bought it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know, that big TV, man. What happened to the TV? Mom, like, we ain't got no TV.
Hey man, that's my TV. I bought that.
You know, that car, he bought that car, you know?
I think everybody back then in the 70s and 80s was doing cocaine.
Right.
That's all a crack is. It's just cooked up cocaine.
Cooked up cocaine,
You know, my mom went to law school. So different sides of the tracks, me and you. She went to law school and she admitted to me one time, she was like, oh yeah, my roommate, she paid her way through law school selling cocaine. So everybody from all socioeconomic stratas was doing cocaine. So I think working class people like your dad from Brooklyn were doing cocaine and they found a cheap way to do it.
Right.
And I think that high wore off so fast and hit you so fast that it created this, it ramped up the cycle of addiction like 100 times what like a coke habit would take you to become a junkie, right?
That thing is so amazing, right? That, you see, I don't know what the heroin era looked like in the late 60s, early 70s, right? But I do remember what that crack era felt like. And it felt like, I don't know if there ever was a drug that was that detrimental to the community. I'm talking about mothers selling themselves, people selling everything that they had. I'm talking about zombies coming out, going to school, seeing crack vials. Like it just, I don't know if there was ever a drug that had people actually selling themselves, right? Selling everything in their possession. Like what was that strong of a drug that made them do that? Like it was, like you don't see that no more. Coming out your house to go to school, you talking about literal zombies in the street, right? That was to me very, very, very significant in my growing up because, you know, like I said, my father was involved. So, you know, the group of people that he hung out with would sometimes be in my house in the morning, you know, and these are the people that we was calling crackheads. So it's like, what up, man? Y'all going to school in the morning? Yeah, man, go to school. Yeah, get. And it's like, man, you know, and it was a lot of things that I was dealing with. When I would see him and I would go through that, I would feel ashamed, right? And I would feel like, damn, man. You know, it was times when I would be outside hanging out with my friends and be like, dig your dad, dig your father. And I would try to be like, act like I didn't see him. You understand? Right. Because it was, you would get teased. Even though everybody's family was on crack. It was so crazy. Everybody's family is on crack. We all affected. Everybody had somebody in their family that was smoking crack. Yeah. But father, mother. But that first wave was so crazy that I would get teased. Like, man, your whole family on crack. And it was something. Though.
Did you remember families where both parents would be on crack?
Hell yeah.
God. Hell and then from there, it's like
I know whole families. The whole family's damn near was on crack. The mother, the uncle, the aunt, the father, everybody. Yeah. There's a family across the street from me. They damn near whole house was smoking. Yeah.
So how did that end for your father? Or how bad did it spiral out of control?
He never came back. My father wound up dying. He was in some sort of car accident. I still don't understand like what exactly happened with him as far as like him being hit by a car. He got. I really don't understand the details on what happened. One day I was just out one day and I had to be about 14 and my brother was like, man, I was looking for you, man. Mommy said we got to say bye to daddy. It's like, what? We got to go. I was in Manhattan somewhere. I was doing something. I was somewhere where I ain't had no business being. And he was telling me that something had happened. And I remember going to the hospital and seeing him. He was incoherent, like. But I never understood the details on what exactly happened. It was just some sort of car accident. It was something to do with him in a car. He was high or I don't know. And it was gone. But I remember feeling really bad. But then I also felt some sort of sense of relief, like maybe for him, because, you know, when I started hearing things about drugs very early, right? Because drugs is such a part of my growing. addiction being a disease and things like that, because I was rooting for my father. Like he would, go into a rehab or get locked up and come home and have his size back. And he'd be like, yeah, my father back to him being who he was. Right. And then it would all go to shit again. So I guess I felt some sort of relief, maybe like, maybe that is over. Maybe maybe he's at peace, or maybe that was for the best thing. I remember trying to make some sort of understanding in my mind that maybe I was trying to like fix it to where it made sense for me,
Maybe you were a little relieved too that you didn't have this burden anymore. You weren't going to get teased anymore.
No, by that time, everybody was smoked out, so I don't think I was getting teased by that point. Yeah. I think, it was, it was pretty normal, Yeah.
What did that do when you saw everybody's parents hooked and addicted? Obviously, you were like, wow, that's the zombie drug. You don't touch that. But did you want to
sell it?
Sell it?
Yeah.
Did you look up to the older cats that were getting money?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're young, do you get put on with like a package or anything like that? Or are you just doing like hooligan?
We started getting our own. Started going uptown, learning by default. There was a guy that really showed me. He wound up being killed later on, but my guy Anthony, he was from up the block. He the first person took me uptown. The cop he the first person that did everything with me, that kind of showed me the ropes in that era.
How old were you?
I was around the same age, around the time my father died. Yeah,
14 years old.
Yeah,
going to uptown.
Yeah, we were taking a train uptown. Yeah.
Wow, and that was like the mecca for scoring.
You got to remember, this is a time when going to Washington Heights on Broadway, it was like it was doing was against the law, but it felt like walking down Broadway. Like everybody was just out there like they had a license for it. Like, I got that hard, Papa. I got that hard. I got that hard. Yeah, we got it right here, Papa. Come talk to me. Like, yeah, I got that hard. Like they was just broadcasting it like it was nothing.
Right. The way dispensaries are now.
Like it was like they had a license for it. I got it. We got it. We got that. We got it. So whatever you want, we got it. We got it. We got it. So.
And what I've heard is that most of that, if you bought it already cooked up from Dominicans, it was usually garbage.
It was. But this is how you learn. Yeah. Before you graduated to actually buying, coke yourself and then doing it yourself. So we was buying they called it Ready Rock back then. And we would go buy it and come back and learn. I remember buying some before, and it was like, the crackheads was like, oh, it's wet. It's like, what you talking about? So you learn by trial and error.
How crazy is that you as a 14-year-old are selling these narcotics to grown adults? Like, do you realize that is such a...
Selling to the adults that you knew. Selling to adults that actually watch you grow up. How about that? Family members and things of that nature. Like, I know people that sold drugs to their mother.
Yeah.
I had an aunt, my Aunt B, that lived on Lafayette. She started getting high. I definitely did something for her.
Rap is, they don't lie in it, bro. Remember the Jay-Z lyric? He goes, disrespecting the fiends I used to look up to, take it or leave it, you. Yeah. So did you notice that attitude? Like these people that are now desperate to get high, did you notice like kids your age becoming a little like antagonistic toward it?
They weren't. See, my era, I think, is the era of, the late 80s, early 90s era of kids that, getting crack money and became more violent. The what they call the super predator, like when all the laws really started to get really stiff, right? Because I got friends now that's been locked up still since that era. Early 90s.
Over bodies or drugs?
Yeah, right, bodies. But what is the root of it? The drugs. Of
course.
The drug game, the environment that spawned this crack, that is the root of everything. That is the problem, in our environment. So we talking 30 years now that went by, and kids that were 16, 17 either are still in prison or just getting out.
Yeah. So you've got Ready Rock. You learning how to. Do you have your own corner? Like, are you selling in the same neighborhood you grew up in,
right. First
How did
corner
that
I
work?
started take it to the block. First corner I ever started selling crack on was Notion and Green, and then Notion and Green, and then we started going Bedford and Green.
Was it the same in Harlem, like with the different colored tops, or did you guys do it different in Brooklyn?
What you mean? It was,
well, how would you market your?
You had your tops, right?
Okay.
Red top, green tops, you know. Yeah.
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 And then did you learn how to get powder and cook it up into better products?
Yeah, later on. Yeah, that happened later.
Were you any good at it? At selling drugs?
I want to say, was I any good at it? I think that if I applied myself more, because I also was into taking too.
Yeah, you're known as a tough guy.
Right. So I do whatever I do, but I'm with it. I'm into the, we're going to take it too. We're going to take the drugs. We're going to take whoever. We're going to do whatever. I'm with that. Like I'm, a robber or whatever. Like I was on that too. So I'm probably known more for that than anything,
Yeah, when I told our producer that Maino was coming in, he texted me, he goes, oh, that's awesome and terrifying. So your reputation kind of precedes you as like a jack boy.
It's a very long time ago, though. We talking too long to even still have the same reputation. We talking, I went to jail when I was 17. I got out when I was 27.
Yeah.
That's, we light years beyond.
Of course.
What that was. But in that era, yeah. So I would sell drugs. We would, back then we would go to Long Island, go to Suffolk County and sell drugs, but we took money too.
Would you rob guys from your neighborhood, or was that known as like you don't rob somebody from down the street because
I've robbed guys from neighborhoods, yeah. I've done that.
Does that get, how does that work though? Like you see each other the next day and it's like,
I can't say that I wasn't in my right frame of mind. And honestly, I never thought that what I was doing was ever wrong. Because this is the era for what I think, what was going on. I felt like this was the era. This is the war era. This is the era that we are outside with, clips that hold 21 shots and, we doing whatever we got to do. Yeah, we selling drugs, but we gonna take some money too. Though.
Right.
Like, so if you got something lined up, we with it.
So even if you're making money off a package and you're in profit, you still decide to rob?
We doing whatever. We with it. I'm with it. You can call me if you got something lined up, I'm coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Back then, yeah.
Well, that was a whole business. Like the business of jacking, there was so much money in drugs that some people just rob drug dealers.
Some people just rob drug dealers.
It was an Omar from The Wire kind of enterprise.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Would you guys rob people? Would you try to hit their stashes, or would you just take their? Okay.
The cribs, everything.
Yeah.
Oh
wow. So you guys are really with the
in the houses. Yeah. In the crib.
Oh, it's great.
At times to actually check the whole house. Everybody tied up. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's serious business.
Definitely.
It's dangerous business.
Dangerous.
Did you ever have any retaliation?
Yeah.
Against your crew?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys got bucked at, or?
So I was just having a conversation the other day about how one of my closest friends got shot in the face. Right. And I was the one driving a car. I was driving a car when it happened. I had a car back then. It was the first car I ever bought. It was a Ford Escort. You couldn't tell me that this wasn't.
Yeah, the flyest whip.
This was a flying spur.
Yeah.
I was coming around. It's like,
it's like a spaceship.
What? This two-door. Listen. We was packed up in this two-door. The Ford Escort had 2 doors. It was a coupe. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't in the Benz, but I used to wash that bitch. I used to drive that like it was like everything, right? And but I used to always be strapped up in there. But one particular day, as I was driving, I was on Gates Avenue, and coming up Gates Avenue. It was 5 of us in this little ass car. You know, everybody's still living to this day, thank God. But my guy Mo Dog, he was sitting in the back, man, and as I came up Gates to make and there was a car following us. It was an Audi, and I got to the next corner, Tompkins and Gates, and somebody in the car said, "Make a U-turn." And I don't know why I didn't go straight or make the right on Tompkins. I made the U-turn, and as I made the U-turn, they didn't make it. They just stood right there. And as I'm coming by, so it's a car, I make the U-turn, they just stayed. And as I'm going by them, I'm looking at them, they start shooting.
Wow.
And he got hit in his face.
He's sitting shotgun?
No, he's sitting in the back.
Wow.
He's sitting in the back. I want to say he was sitting in the middle. If he wasn't sitting in the middle, then he was sitting to the far right, if I remember.
And bullet goes through the windshield?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole back window was out. Yeah, the whole back window was out. So he got shot in the face, but I didn't know where he got shot at, right? Yeah. So we ducking. And when I come up, I heard like a gurgle and like, I heard that and I turned around. I'm like, oh. And you know, the car is dark, so I'm thinking he hitting his head, and I'm like, oh man, you know. And I had already been through a situation where, you know, growing up, a close friend of mine had died in front of me, right? So I was just like, man, dog, oh wow. And I just seen him and he just started rocking, and I'm thinking he got hit in his head, so I'm like rushing to the hospital, driving on sidewalks, everything.
Right.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying my best to get to the hospital, man, and I got there in time. And when I got there, I noticed that he was hit in his jaw, like in his cheek, you know, which to me wasn't bad because we know people that got hit like that. He lived. His jaw was broke. Yeah. He has the dimple to this day, right? You know, it was a time. But to answer the question, so we had heard, we never was sure what had happened, but it was always suspected that this was something that I had done prior to that. It was based on that. So I wasn't 100% sure because back then we was doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Now, is this the era where the Bloods have now?
No,
this predates the Bloods.
This predates the Bloods thing didn't come. So I want to say this had to be like around 91. Blood things didn't happen to maybe, I think, 93, 94.
Okay. So there wasn't true like gangs in Brooklyn then. It was just crews of cats.
No, it was no gangs at all.
It was just crews, right?
Yeah. Right, back then. I mean, I guess in theory, anything can be a gang, right? You can be a gang if it's, you know, if it's a few of y'all can be a gang, you know, if you wanted to, you know, attribute that to who you are. But
it wasn't West Coast
street gangs. No, that didn't happen. And that started in jail first. You got to remember, that started in Rikers Island years later. And then it kind of trickled to the street later on. I don't know when it actually got into the streets, maybe 95, you know, I'm thinking, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was a reason they said Manhattan make it, Brooklyn take it. It's because you guys were just known to rob people. Yeah.
Brooklyn is a known aggressive, you know, take your, you know, that's the aura of what Brooklyn. But Brooklyn got a lot of legendary money getting dudes though. Yeah, you know, that people that that really got money, that really was hands on with their hustle and really was about their.
You guys, springtime is here. It is my favorite time of the year because it's basketball playoffs. I am a basketball junkie, and if you're like me, if you like firing on action, look no further than Prize Picks. You know, if you rock with the show, Prize Picks is my one and only online daily fantasy sports app where I go to fire on it, baby. Unlike other apps where you're playing against the odds and experts and sharks, Anybody can play with Prize Picks. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Check it out. Basketball playoffs are here and the action is heating up on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Do you think LeBron James will get more than 24 points? Giannis for more than 35? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. You know what it is by now. And Prize Picks is constantly updating their app, and they're giving out so many freebies and deals. They got Flex Friday, they got Taco Tuesday. Check it out. They even allow you now to mix and match different sports. So you got hockey playoffs going on right now too. So maybe you want to fire on action on a hockey game or a hockey stat and basketball. You can pair those up and do it at the same time. It just makes watching sports that more fun and engaging, and it's great for the casual fan. I'm not a big hockey fan, but when I got some money riding on it and I can 1000x my money, yeah, best believe I'm enjoying the game more. Download the app today and use code CONNECT to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CONNECT, CONNECT, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, everybody. Run your game. Do you guys have a life insurance policy? You have insurance for everything else, your car, your home, etc. What about you? How are you going to make sure that your loved ones are protected if, God forbid, something happens to you? Now, I don't have a family. After that weekend in Mexico, I might be having a kid soon, though. So I am going to want to have a life insurance policy. So my Bitcoin, my gold, my money, if something happens to me, then he or she will be the benefactor, okay? Also, you don't even have to have kids. You want to have something pass on to your next of kin, your siblings, etc. It's important. It's one of the most important things. Most people that get a life insurance policy wish they had done it at a younger age. I do. I just got a life insurance policy this year with Policy Genius. That's the sponsor of this ad. With Policy Genius, you can find a life insurance policy starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. That's the one I got. For less than a car payment, a monthly car payment, I got a full year's worth of coverage for up to $1 million. It's an easy way to protect the people you love and feel good about the future. Policy Genius combines digital tools with the expertise of real licensed agents. Their licensed support teams help you get what you need fast so you can get on with your life. They answer questions, handle paperwork, and advocate for you throughout the process. That's one of the reasons it took me so long to get a life insurance policy. I didn't want to deal with an insurance company. I didn't want to deal with an insurance agent. It just seemed so daunting. It seemed so frustrating. It seemed so invasive. Policy Genius has fixed this problem. It is the easiest, most cost-efficient way to find the life insurance policy that's right for you. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to compare free life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. Once again, that's policygenius.com.
So in this era, do you recall a guy like that the neighborhood kind of all knew about, the way like in Harlem people knew about those dudes like Alpo and Rich Porter from the 80s? Was there anybody like that in Brooklyn?
Of course, man. Like, I mean, not enough is said about Polite, who, you know, was a gangster, but at the same time he was getting money and he was known to get money. You know, you had guys like more popular like Demencio, you know, Red Bug from my hood. Like, you had a lot of very well-known guys. Keith, you know, that was getting money. He was known for getting money, riding big cars and coming through, like, you know, no different than what was going on in Harlem. Yeah. You know, Supreme Magnetic from 50s, from Fort Greene. You know, he just throwing out names as I remember, you know, of popular ghetto stars of this era.
Did you know, this is a corny question, but did you know who Biggie was in the early 90s?
Yeah. But Biggie wasn't Biggie until like after I was in prison. I remember Biggie from all right, so Biggie had a DJ named 50 Grand. And 50 Grand, his family, they lived in Lexington between Nostrand and Bedford. They used to have parties there in the basement. I remember seeing Biggie there, but I didn't. You just the fat dude that I remember rapped.
Right.
in the basement, in the party. I remember that vividly. So when I saw Biggie in the sauce or wherever I saw him later on, I said, "Oh, this is in Deckenham house." Like, yeah. Wow. So I had remember him from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember him being nice when you heard him rapping at the party?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I remember him being there. I remember him saying a rap. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like you cared about rap.
No, I didn't care about rap at all.
A lot of guys from the streets thought rappers were kind of corny.
So this is not the era when young street niggas was idolizing rappers.
This was before then.
This is way before.
Yeah.
Like, just like, we wasn't idolizing rappers.
Yeah.
That wasn't like, we like rappers. Like, we love Big Daddy Kane. We love Big Daddy Kane. We loved Cool G Rap and, you know, KRS One, stuff like that. But then I remember when Kane got his chain took, I was more enthralled with that, with the people that had that. Like, this is real. Like, and there's, you know, I love Kane to this day, but I remember actually seeing the chain and yo, look, this Big Daddy Kane chain and the chain being put on my neck. Like, that was a
for real
100 million%.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yes. Yeah. So I was more enthralled with that.
The power of it, the power to be able to take somebody who's famous.
But not even so much that, but just that ghetto star, that guy that was popular before it was even a thing, right? The guy that had the name and, you know, the guys that would maybe looked at as dangerous and you didn't play with them. They were known to be on whatever. It was something more exciting to me about that than having any kind of rap dreams.
For sure.
You know? So I don't even remember any of my friends ever saying, yo, let's rap. Like, let's.
And this is before rappers were getting big money. You know, this is before the rap
But
really
they
became
always looked
commercialized.
like they did.
I
remember seeing Kane pull up into Volvo, big jewels on, like they look rich, you know? But it just wasn't there yet. I don't think we idolize artists in this era yet. I don't think that became a thing until rap became something that we looked at as a hustle.
Right.
You know, then it became like, all right, this is a hustle. And I think this is after Jay-Z. After, you know, guys like Jay-Z and Big.
Right.
Then it was like, oh, wow. So like pre-Biggie, pre-Jay-Z, I don't know too many people that was talking about being a rapper.
Yeah, because when you're in the street, the quickest way to get from where you're at to poverty to wealth is through the that's right in front of you.
See, the thing about what I tell people about being in the street is not like, if you're really in the street, then it didn't feel like you were doing nothing out of the ordinary. Everything you do is within the realms of that, right? So you going to school? Hell no, I ain't going to school. You looking for a job? Hell no, I ain't looking for a job. So when I hear about people that was like going to school, had jobs, in college, like you really kind of really wasn't in the street, really. Not really. Like you may have been affiliated with some people and all that, but like it really wasn't your lifestyle, right? It really was not your lifestyle, because if it's really your lifestyle, then it's 100% you never really had time to do none of those other things. Because for once, you chasing money, you in the beef, it's things that you're dealing with every single day that's preventing you from being that other person, to have time to look for a job and be showing up at work every day or even going to school.
Right. You can't really be a part-time, especially in that era.
At some point, you're gonna, unless you're just that good. I don't know nobody that's just that good and still finishing school and all this other shit.
Now, about rappers that glorify, you know, all the drugs that they used to sell. Jay-Z's the best example of that. He made it sparkle. right? With the In My Lifetime remix, and you're like, wow, he's the best at glamorizing it. But to become an artist really is a full-time hustle. You have to give yourself to the game if you really want to make it. Do you think those guys exaggerated how big they were in the drug game?
Jay-Z definitely was getting money. This is confirmed. I think what people misunderstand is that by the time Jay-Z was giving rap a full chance, he had already stepped away from that, right? And if he wasn't fully away from it, then he was almost. Right. So I don't think it was a time when he was doing both.
Right.
Right? So that's understandable. You confuse when you make it seem like you're doing both, because it's hard to do both. Like because being in the street, it's like it's a full-time job.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
Like, what are we gonna do? You got time to be no rapper?
Running a crack spot is dangerous.
Yeah. Do you know that the time that it takes to make music?
A lot.
There you go.
You're in the studio all night.
There you go.
Yeah.
Weeks, months, years. Like,
yeah.
It takes so much time. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be involved to some sort of degree. You can, but it is an over exaggeration. I don't think Hov was really lying when he talked about his stories, because it's been confirmed who he is and what, what I mean. We all know, his story.
But yeah, he had to step away. I think to really make it, you have to step away. Jeezy talks about that too. Where he was like, he was juggling keys. And then I think T.I. told him, hey, you got to choose. You're grinning.
No, because I'm just thinking it's a time when you say to yourself, like, I gotta really give this thing a shot.
Yeah.
And you gotta sacrifice,
Yeah, I think Jay-Z, he was in London doing some and that's when his mans got caught. So like he was already stepping away from it and he got out at the right time. Like everything just kind of worked out for that dude, because then his whole crew went down and got, slammed. They got decades, right? So yeah, that's the other thing too. If you're trying to rap and sell drugs, you're probably going to get locked up, especially in New York in the Giuliani era.
At some point, right?
So you're a teenager. You're so young. It's crazy, and you guys are like committing full-grown men crimes,
right?
Do you look back now at your sentence and say, "Damn, it could have been worse"? Like for all the shit that we did.
I've always felt like that from day one. So by the time I went to jail, I've always felt like if they knew everything I did, I would never, ever come home. Ever in life. Yeah. This is it. 100 years. Yeah. Easy. Easy. So I went into it feeling that way. Man, I can do this. I got a 5 to 15. I could be out in 5 years. I can do this because I've done some things. I've always felt like that.
Were you worried that those things were going to pop up? Those things from the past that can never, where the statutes don't go away, or, the most serious crimes, right? Good, dude. I got Maino to laugh. Whenever you get rap star Maino to laugh.
You threw something in there, though. You're talking about the statutes. That was slick.
Or whatever it is. Did you ever, when you were locked up or years later, like get that paranoia? Or were you able to just shut that part off?
I don't know if I ever was paranoid about things. Yeah, I don't think I was ever paranoid because I've always felt like, whatever happened already happened, and that I always felt good. I always felt good. Consciously, I felt like, if anything, karma. But other than that, I didn't feel like I was about to be rearrested for some other stuff. No, right. I didn't think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 17 and you catch a case.
Mhm.
What can you tell us what happened? I'm sure you've described it before.
Drug-related kidnapping case. So, like I told you, we was already at a point where we were going in houses of drug houses or whoever, anything in the realms of taking money, buying, taking, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a drug-related kidnapping, whereas actually now we took the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was you and how many other dudes?
There's a couple of us.
Okay. Was it in Brooklyn?
It was in the city and Brooklyn. And then listen, everybody that was involved, like everybody didn't go to jail. Like it was so we gotta protect the innocent.
For sure.
You feel me?
Yeah, that's a way to. Yeah, that's something to call them, the innocent.
Right.
So can you tell us about it? Can you tell us what happened?
We came up with the idea to take this person.
You were setting up on him.
Yeah, I was involved, definitely.
And he had work?
He was the connect.
He was your connect?
He was a connect. He was a connect that we were dealing with. He was somebody that I had a relationship with at the time, had a relationship with.
Yeah. Right?
So, like I told you, at this point in my life, I was with whatever. So if you came around and said you had a line on something, I was with it. I was with it. A word, you got a line, they doing whatever, they got work.
Mm-hmm.
And you saying that all we got to do is come in there and take it. And yeah, okay, tie up who?
Mm.
We with it. So we gonna come, we gonna do whatever we need to do. And
was this your line? Or was this, did somebody bring this to you, this specific thing? Or was this your idea?
No, it was brought to me. I was part of it. At this time, I was probably the youngest in my crew when it came to those things. So I was the youngest at that point, but I was on the front line, Yeah.
Right. And you guys went in there fully strapped up, fully masked up, or were you guys more cowboys?
That didn't have to happen because for one, so I had broke my leg early on a motorcycle. I ride bikes. I always rode bikes. I broke my leg. So I wasn't actually, I wanted to so bad. I wasn't there when they actually took him, but we didn't have to do it forcefully because niggas already knew him.
Right.
So it was a friendly thing that turned into a, you know what I mean?
We're actually robbing you.
There you go. There you go.
He thought they were just asking him out for coffee.
No.
And it turns out they got the joint on him.
No. It turns into it. Listen, if I know you, right? And I don't have to kick down your door. I know you. Yo, come meet me over here. I'm gonna come meet you. Right. And that turns into whatever. You're in the car, some duct tape, some rope, handcuffs, or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, your Wikipedia page makes it sound like it was just kind of a cowboy kind of stupid thing, but also, I mean, it's professional.
But you got to remember though, like you are who you are in the time that you are, right? Where I was at, I wasn't this person that I am today. Whereas, I've evolved. I've lived life. I've had the opportunity to live. We talking about a young kid who's never seen nothing that was probably, adapting to everything around him. So violence wasn't abnormal to me.
No, actually, it was very normal back then.
Very, very normal.
We're not judging you. We need the clickbait.
100%. So the thing is this. Violence, for me, or being affiliated with violence, was just as normal as anything today. Like this is how you handle your problems. This is how you deal with things. This is what I was taught. This is how you handle everything violently. You got a problem with somebody, shoot them. That's it.
Yeah.
You got an issue with somebody, shoot them. Pretty much.
Yeah. And you were taught that by the older heads?
It was never expressed verbally, but this is what you learn. This is the nature of your environment, right? Your environment tells you that. Your environment tells you this is the way that you should handle your issues, because you see the rewards in that. In being weak, you see that's not gonna work here. Because I want to be able to have what I want to have. I want to be able to wear chains. I want to be able to do what I want to do. I want all the girls to like me. I want to be able to be popular. I want to be able to
put rims in your Ford Escort.
Hubcaps back then.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, so the environment itself teaches you that. You know, the conversations that you have with older people or people that you look up to are just the added topping, you know?
Plus all the parents are smoked out. So there's this whole absence of like responsibility. And you can see how that just can cause the community to fall apart.
Let's just say, because everybody's family, I've had friends whose families, I had certain friends whose mothers wasn't, and they worked, good mothers, but it didn't stop them from being in the street, right? This is just the era that it was very hard to raise young Black males, because like, what was there out there for us to do, right? Being maybe a 20-something-year-old mother with a 16-year-old son in 1990 was rough, right? Because you got to go to work, right? You got to put food on the table. What is this kid going to be doing? He's left to his own devices. He's left to the environment. You understand? And this is why we seeing so many kids fall victim and not be able to double back and have another shot at life, right? So if you made that mistake back then in 1990 at 16 and you shot somebody, killed somebody, you still paying for that right now.
Yeah, think about how many good guys are locked up,
right? Just
when they were different. You're a different person when you're 16 as opposed to when you're 50.
Think about me.
Yeah.
Think about the opportunity that I had to evolve. So we here talking about the crimes that I committed, 30 plus years ago, right? We talking about, what I went to jail for and what I didn't go to jail for, whatever, right? But I got a chance to be in prison, grow up, find myself, find things about myself, come home, create a career for myself, live, right? Have some success and live. What about the kid that didn't have the opportunity to do that?
It's crazy.
Been in jail since the early 90s, or he's just getting out right now. What about him?
We've talked to a lot of them on this show.
That to me is the worst crime. So we talking about all these crimes. That to me is the worst crime.
I know. It's tough because on the one hand, I agree with you. But if you talk to parents who lost their kids to gun violence, let's say from that era, and you said, yeah, the person who shot your son and changed your life forever because you have this gaping pain in your chest, they're going to give him 30 years. And he's going to go through, he's going to lose most of his life. They'd probably say,
I understand it, but listen to this though, right? Psychologically, you already said it. Who you are today is a different person than who you are when you was 16 or whatever. Your mind doesn't develop the same way, right? It doesn't work the same way, actually. So the choices and decisions that you make when you 17 are different than the ones that you make when you're 45.
For sure.
Right? You're not a fully developed human yet. So this irrational decision that you made, whether it been pride, a lot of it is pride, most of it is pride. The root of it may be about some money, but it's about pride at the same time. Like, what? Ain't let niggas take nothing from me. They ain't doing nothing to me. Whatever. And you make this decision to do whatever you do, or in my case, to go take something, take somebody or whatever. These are irrational decisions made by people that have not had the opportunity to be developed. These are underdeveloped minds. So now you paying 30, 35 years for those mistakes. I don't agree with that.
it's
Because
an unwinnable situation because yes, you shouldn't have to do that much time when you're just a kid and you make this huge mistake, but there's families
understood
want retribution. Humans haven't evolved enough yet. You know, like I was just down in El Salvador and you know what's going on down there. They took all the gang members, they threw them into this huge prison. They're torturing the out of them. It's horrible. Like I would never want that to happen to America. But you know, you talk to the locals there and they're like, oh yeah, my dad was a bus driver and a bunch of 16-year-old kids took him off a bus, robbed him and shot him to death on his bus route. And they're like, they deserved it. So humans haven't evolved yet to the point where we don't want some kind of retribution. But you know?
Got it. But the issue is, see, that 16-year-old that makes that irrational decision is the product of something else.
Totally.
Right? It's the product
of their environment.
There you go. There you go.
POE, shout out to Jim Jones.
As long as you have environments that are underfunded, underprivileged, ghettos, slums, hoods, it's always going to produce criminals, crime, gangs, right? So that irrational decision that 16-year-old makes is the byproduct of the pain he already been in.
Yeah.
This action now.
For sure.
That he makes now. But the root of the problem is the environment. Because guess what? We 30 years past that. Right? From my time.
Yeah.
But we still have the same issues now.
I know. You go up to the Bronx, they're doing the same you guys were doing in Brooklyn.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why you shoot him? Oh, no. Like, I go to the jails now. I go to the jails and I speak to the kids and they look lost. And I feel for them because I understand what it felt like to be lost.
Yeah.
I know what it is to not have any aspirations, any dreams, any focus.
Yeah. Anything beyond just what's right in front of you that day.
Right. I'm so blessed because I had the opportunity to do these things. But when I say, damn, what are we going to do? Right? Locking everybody up, locking all the kids up behind their actions it's not getting to the root of the problem.
I agree.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
So you robbed the out of this guy with a broken leg. Did you have a broken leg?
Yeah. Had a cast on leg, yeah, definitely at this time.
When you did the robbery?
Like I said, it wasn't a robbery. It was a taking.
Right. It was kidnapping.
And I was involved in it. So I was a part of I would say a unit of people that actually we did that. So yeah, definitely.
And how did he tell on you guys? How did the case?
No, it was stupidity. We make phone calls from a landline that actually was. They had something back then where the calls was over. I think a minute. They can use something that they had this technology called. I think it was a trap where they get the number and run it back the address. Yeah, so that was how that went.
They weren't tapping your phones or anything like that.
No. The phones wasn't tapped, but if you made the phone call for a certain level length of time, they were able to trace that back and get the address. Yeah, that's how we found out the hard way.
That's wild.
Yeah.
They can like rewind the phone call almost.
Yeah, they was actually able to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and how did the law get the drop on you? Like, how did they figure out about this?
I just told you.
I know, but how did dude?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
In his family. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Somebody in his family. So even though we asked them for keys and like that, they was like, we going to the law. Yeah.
Even back then, drug dealers were calling the police.
I don't know if the people we were talking to were actually drug dealers or they were just family members. I want to say that it was a drug dealing family, but that's just what I believe.
Oh, so you guys were just snatching a dude that you thought had money and getting ransom?
No, he was a drug dealer.
Okay.
Right. 1,000%.
Okay.
And that had actually helped the case for me because he had been caught with with bricks of cocaine before. So it wasn't like some random guy.
Right.
I never had a, crime against random people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was still in the realms of the street.
I see.
Which to me felt like it's okay for us to do this.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's all in the streets. It's all fair.
It's all fair.
So, but his family obviously didn't give the money up, didn't give the keys up, called the cops.
Right. And they was listening.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So you and how many other people went down?
Me and one.
Okay.
Right.
Did you have a criminal record before this?
Yes. Yeah.
For what?
Gun, robberies, drugs. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you had a lengthy rap sheet already by 17. Mm-hmm. Had you done any time?
DFY.
Which is like the youth authority?
Division for you.
Okay. And what was that like?
Nothing.
Easy?
You're prepared.
All right.
You're prepared. So I had one co-defendant, which is my guy, Mo-Dog, that actually, that I told you got shot. Mm-hmm. And then I had another co-defendant, but he was on another indictment because he didn't get caught at the same time. So he wound up getting locked up later on. So yeah.
So, but this is your first case as an adult? They tried you at 17?
No, I had a gun charge already. I actually had a gun charge already at the same time, pending.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So the DA wants you. They look at that rap sheet and they say...
I don't think I was specific. I don't think that they had any specific issue for me.
But did that, when you got your sentencing, did that come into play? Or?
Yeah, because I probably could have got less time if I didn't have, priors, like a prior felony. So those are actually the only 2 felonies I have. Right. One gun charge and a kidnapping charge.
Right. Okay. So did you take it to trial or was it?
No, I pleaded out to 5 to 15.
Okay. 5 to 15. That's so you can, in your mind, you're like, wow, okay, I can be out in 5 if I behave myself. But that wasn't easy to do. So did you go to Rikers? They shoot you at Rikers? I
was in Rikers the whole time for a year.
Waiting to adjudicate it.
Yeah. So I was in Rikers, C-74, 4 building.
Yeah.
Adolescents.
Right. Okay. That must have been...
What, the Rikers?
Yeah, C-74.
Was it what? Was it rough?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was super rough. Yeah.
Yeah. This is before like cameras or anything like that.
No cameras. No cameras. You can have jury. You can have all the clothes that you wore from outside.
So if you have jewelry, there must have been dudes robbing other inmates for their jewelry.
Yeah, and people was robbing people for their shoes.
Hell, what size are your shoes, bro?
Absolutely. Shirts, hats, hoodies, jackets, pants, boots, sneakers. Everything.
It's wild.
Everything.
Did you, when you go in there, do you have like a Brooklyn clique? Like before the Bloods were on Rikers and controlling everything, who did you?
So by the time I get locked up, I'm pretty popular in my neighborhood already. As far as
reputation.
Yeah, like I'm a pretty popular young guy. In my direct neighborhood, I'm popular. So yeah, dude, it is a Brooklyn clique. I knew a lot of people. A lot of people knew me. So yeah, I was and then I got right with whatever the motion was. Like, so I kind of just got right with it. This is the era when everybody was cutting. And I kind of got right into it. Give me a razor. I need a razor. Oh, word, I get razors in here. Call the girl up. Yo, bring me a box of razors. Sneaking, putting the black tape over them, going in the visit, getting a box of razors. I'm coming back. I'm arming the homies. Everybody getting razors. We in here getting busy. So I kind of got right with the environment. Yeah. Right into motion.
That was the easiest, to me, when I first got locked up. What I noticed was the guys that did time the best were the guys that just didn't feel bad for themselves, that just got right with the environment.
Yeah, I got right into it. I didn't should have been paying attention to my case or whatever. But like I'm saying, you're young.
Yeah.
You're young. And this is where the wind is pushing you. Right?
Yeah.
So all the guys that I know from the streets, they in there getting, they're getting busy.
Yeah.
They ain't going for nothing, they ain't having it. And I want to be able to be the same way that I was in the street.
Right.
So we was in the street doing shit. I'm gonna come here now and then what? Just let niggas have their way with me?
Right.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
You can get your pants taken?
Never.
Did you see guys get victimized like that? Guys that didn't want to get down?
What do you mean get down?
Like get down, like be with the have a
You
ox on them.
You didn't get victimized because you didn't want to have a razor or an ox or a weapon. You didn't get victimized for that. You might have got victimized for having something that somebody wanted. Nobody cared if you had a razor or not.
Did you ever get tested?
Of course. You get tested. It's all a test. The whole environment is a test.
Yeah. Did you ever give somebody the $150?
Plenty.
Wow. Holy.
Yeah. Plenty.
That is wild.
Plenty times. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Damn. And did you get one?
Mm-hmm. I got cut.
I remember when you first got on in rap, I remember that big $150 scar. I think it was more pronounced. And I was like, the first thing I thought was, man, that's good marketing.
Good marketing.
Because he was really about it. It
right.
was, it's proof.
Yeah. So
was that on Rikers when you were fighting your case?
That happened upstate.
Okay.
So you go from Rikers and you get sentenced. And then you go upstate to do your time. It's the same thing. You're still at war. You're still into it. And yeah, I got cut. I did a lot of cutting. So I've always looked at that as I just got one cut out of the cutting that I did or the activities that I was involved in.
Right.
It ain't nothing.
It's kind of like your case. You're like, I just got one case. I did a lot of robberies.
I did a lot of shit. And I ain't just say it was robberies. I did a lot of things, period. Just leave it there.
And by the way, I know these are prying questions.
Right.
This is why I have the best show in the space. So you're doing great.
Right.
Don't worry about it. We're going to go viral.
We're going to go viral.
Yeah, that's so you're on there for a year. And did you ever get like sent to the hole, the shoe?
I spent most of my time there.
Even on Rikers? Just for being an instigator and a cutter and a fighter?
Just being in the just being into things, getting caught with things, being in the yeah. So so out of the 12 months that I was on Rikers Island, I was in the Bing, because they called it the Bing back then. Out of the 12 months I was in Rikers Island, I was in the Bing 9 months. A total of 9 months. So I was only ever in population 3 months, and that was in spurts, 15 days here, 2 weeks here.
Right.
So
they'd let you out finally and you would get in trouble again just immediately.
Yeah, they let me out by mistake before.
All right.
That was the greatest time. They let me out by the Bing by mistake. I'll never forget that day. I was a 6 lower Bing. It was like, Coleman, pack up. I was like, what? Pack up. Pack up. And I was so nervous. Because I'm like, damn, at any second they gonna say, get the back in the cell. And they really sent me out and put me in Mar 9. And I had the time of my life. Oh my God. But I only lasted, 15 days or something like that.
And then what happened?
Getting in the man, I remember I went to chapel, I snatched this guy's chain and then was wearing it. I think I went back to the Bing over something that happened in the reception area. I think it was a guy. I want to say he had an issue with my co-defendant. I want to say he had an issue with him. And then I saw him and I was coming back from court and I didn't have a razor on me, so all I had was like a pen And I used that. I used the pen. I remember trying to like stab him with it in it. So remember those big pens that was clear, and then you would see the ink tube, the tube, the little black tube that was in there. So I went to like kind of like stab him with it, and he blocked it with his hand, and I kept, but I just noticed that the ink pen part was in his hand, stuck in his hand, and all I had was an empty little tube.
Yeah.
It was nothing, like, but yeah, I think I went back to the Bing for that. And wound up never getting back out the Bing, yeah.
So you got your sentence from the Bing?
Yeah.
Like you went
I
to
wanted
court?
off from the Bing, yeah.
Wow.
I wanted off from the Bing, and then when I got upstate, I was getting in trouble there, and I was spending a lot of time in a box.
Okay.
SHU.
So you got sentenced to 5 to 15. Were you the first person in your family to get like a long prison sentence like that?
Yeah.
And your father's gone at this point. Your mother, can't imagine she's delighted.
Right.
She's
not at
devastated.
all. Right.
You go up. What do you think to yourself? 5 to 15. Like in Oregon, where I'm from, there is no 1 to 20. There's no 5 to 15. It's just your time, and you do 85% of it. It's like the feds. But in New York, yeah, like they give you an opportunity to change yourself and be on good behavior and get out like with a lot less time. But going into a 5 to 15 stretch, are you thinking, I'm trying to get all my good time? Or are you saying, I'll max out if I want to?
No, I never had that. I never had that mentality. Like, I'm just going to max out. I'm just going to do, no. I ain't even going to oversell you some gangster shit, because that's never was me. I wanted to get out. I wanted to go home. I always wanted to go home. I felt like when I got the 5 to 15, I felt like, yeah, I'm going home in 5 years. I'm gonna be home in 5 years. That's what I always felt like. That's what I told, the girls that would come see me. Yeah, I'll be home in 4 more years. Also, all I got is 4 years. I'll be home. Now, what I'm saying and what my actions are doing didn't always coincide. And that is what the problem is. Because although in theory I'm saying, yeah, I'm gonna go up north, I'm gonna chill out, I'm gonna do my bid smooth, I ain't getting no more trouble. I always wanted to be that, but I just always was getting in trouble back then. It was always one thing or another. And mostly I say it was mostly my fault. Pride again. And then me always being involved with things maybe I shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't be selling drugs. I shouldn't be robbing in jail. I shouldn't be taking in jail. I shouldn't be doing all this, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Did you have any beefs that you had in the street or in Rikers that caught up with you when you were in prison? Like anything that carried over?
From where? From Rikers?
Yeah, or the street. Anybody you robbed, anybody that you slashed, anybody that you had beef with that then you had to like, you ran into?
A lot of jail beef,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because that travels and it continues to go on.
Yeah.
We 30 years past all that, and people still talking about my jail beef, which is ludicrous to me, because we didn't spent, summer nights on beaches somewhere with multiple women. Like, we living life. Like, what are we talking about? Jail beefs. Like,
But when you were in prison, though, did your Rikers, how you got busy on Rikers, did that give you a reputation when you got to prison? Like, did that make you official?
Yeah, I was cool. I definitely was cool. I had a name. I was cool.
You were selling drugs.
Cool.
Where in New York State prison were you?
Katsaki, Elmira. I was in Elmira twice. Clinton, Comstock, Auburn. I was in over 10 different prisons.
Wow, in 10 years.
10 years. And some of those prisons I was in twice.
That's the hardest way to do prison, is having to go to a new joint.
Well, it was kind of, that, it's funny because it was easier to me. Because I was never in one prison for 2 years.
So you thought it like broke it up?
It did. It did.
But then you got to make new friends and
I was popular.
You got to
People
redecorate.
knew me, you know, you got to redecorate. I was always on the move, though. I was always on the move. So I was on a tour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was always moving around, always, you know, getting packed up, getting kicked out the population, put in a box, whatever, like anything.
How many hole shots did you have in 10 years?
Whole shots? What do you mean?
Yeah, like getting taken out of population, putting it in, going to the hole.
I spent altogether a total of maybe about 4 years, altogether.
Out of 10 years?
Yeah.
In the hole, in solitary.
Yeah.
And what is solitary like in New York? Are you on a solitary wing with other people? Like, are you in cells next to other dudes? Mm-hmm. Or are you by yourself?
You got whole jails, prisons that's just the box.
Right.
Like Southport is just a box. Just the whole prison is SHU.
Wow. What was like the longest amount of time consecutively?
1 year was the longest I ever done.
Wow.
You know, so I'll do a year here, 7 months here, 6 months here. Yeah.
And what would you go to the hole for a year for?
Cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cutting somebody, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the $150 or is that different when you're in prison? Was that like the slash?
Slash.
Yeah.
Cut is a slash.
And are you trying to kill people with the slash? Or is that just a maiming, like, it's like punching somebody?
What are you really trying to do? It's a good question. What are you really trying to do? I don't really know. We call it razor tag. Now I'm like, technically, is it painful? I don't know if you're causing somebody great pain, right? But maybe it's something about opening his face, right? Something about walking up to somebody and slashing him in the face with a razor and seeing him bleed. Just something about that is maybe like, I don't know, conquering in the act. Is he gonna die from it? No, probably not, unless you hit an artery or some crazy shit. Mm. But no. Is he in great pain? Probably not physically, right? But what do you really like? That's a good question.
He's humiliated though. Is
he? Anybody can get cut. You're not a weak person because you get cut. You're not a sucker because you got cut, because somebody might have come up behind you and cut you or whatever. Like, that doesn't define you in a weak way.
It sounds almost like a more gangster way of just punching somebody in the face. But we just take it a lot
more. It's a lot more to it, though. Like, you actually opening this guy's face. He has to go through a process to get stitched or stapled or whatever. You know? So, yeah, I don't know what you really technically getting out of the fact that you just want to hurt him in some kind of way, and then you know the fact that you put that scar on his face. So for the rest of life, he gonna remember him. He gonna remember you. You scarred him.
When you got hit, do you remember the dude to this day who cut you?
I cut him. He cut me back.
Oh, it was a fair one.
What do you mean?
It was at the same time, or he got you later?
He got me later. Yeah, he got me later. I was in a barber. I was getting a haircut. Yeah, he got me later.
Whoa, he came up to you while you were in the barber chair.
Yeah.
And this was on Rikers?
No, this is in Comstock.
Now, I must have shocked you.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
But it happened.
And then, yeah, I mean, tell us, you have to go to medical and get like real stitches, or how deep did it get?
I had, I think, 57 stitches.
So like, it seems the way you guys describe it, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a rite of passage. You know, everybody gets razor tagged, but 57 stitches, that's serious.
So it was from like near the tip of my nose. You can't see it up here no more. All the way back. Whoa. But the thing is this, you cannot be in a particular life and expect not to be affected by it in some form of way. right? You can't be out here shooting dudes for 10, 15 years straight and then don't expect to get shot at, shot back.
Right.
It comes with the territory.
Yeah.
You can't cry about it later on. Like, oh, I cut somebody and somebody cut me back. Okay, it happens. It happens. You're not an innocent bystander. It's not like, my story is not like I was in jail and I was chilling and out of nowhere somebody just came and cut me. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I was just chilling. No, I'm not no innocent.
Oh, man, no, I don't think anybody thinks you're innocent. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, so it's just like.
So you were able to accept your lumps.
I accept my losses. I accept my scars. I accept my pain. I accept everything because it's all part of the journey, right? I never had all the answers. I was a young nigga that was lost. For lack of better words, I was lost. I'm out here trying to find my way. And my way just happened to be a way of the street, of crime, of violence, of drugs, of whatever, which led me to prison, which was another version of that, right? Violence, ego, pride, confusion, right? Pain, all of these things, not knowing how to, really resolve issues, as a man would now,
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know how to talk out your feelings, talk out your problems, your issues.
Or just let certain things go.
Right.
It's all good. We'll let that go.
Look how easy that is.
It's easy. It's easy.
Compared to getting a razor.
Now it is. And so I caused myself a lot of issues, a lot of trouble.
Okay, so you do 4 years total in the hole out of 10. First of all, psychologically, what did you do to keep from going crazy? 4 months in, 6 months in, a year into the hole. There's only so much you can jerk off.
Did a lot of jerking off.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you go left hand? Did you try offhand? It's impossible.
No, I was strictly right hand. But yeah, it's not much you could do, right? So you sleep, doing push-ups, reading a book, writing a letter, writing poetry, doing whatever you want to.
When has rap still not even entered your?
So rap came then, being in one of my box stints. So the time that I did a year, the time that I did 12 months, is when rap came to me.
Right. Did you have an inspiration?
Yeah. The inspiration was other guys rapping. It was a Friday night. I tell the story all the time and how I was just sitting back, relaxed, minding my business. And then I heard guys rapping. So I was in Southport. The whole prison is a box. You got 21 cells on each gallery. Okay? So I was one of the 21 cells. And I remember guys in the back rapping, and it was just for some reason that night just sounded magical. I've seen dudes rap in the yard. Yeah. Seen dudes rap in their cells. I've seen dudes rap in the gym. I've seen rap in jail, and I never was affected by it. I was like, all right, cool, okay. I just come by, listen to them. Oh, that's dope, cool, right? Yeah. But this one night on a Friday, I heard dudes rapping. And I was just like, damn, that shit sound good. Damn. And I said to myself right then and there, I said, yo, when I get up in the morning, I'm gonna write me a rap. And I got up the next morning and I wrote me a rap. I wrote a rhyme.
Do you remember it? I
don't remember the words, so to speak, but I remember what the context of it was. And the context, it was some stressed out, I'm in the cell, living in hell, It was something like that.
Yeah.
It was something, of that context.
I bet you were proud of it though.
I didn't know if it was good, right? I'm just like, is this good? Like, you know, I don't rap. Like, I'm not a rapper. I'm just putting my feelings,
right.
You know, and the thing was, it felt good to do, to have some sort of release that was something different than I've normally ever done. I had been going in the box for a long time now.
Right.
I'm in the box again. This is basically what I do.
Yeah.
Right? But this is different. I wasn't in there writing rhymes. So I wrote me a rhyme and I'm just like, yo. So I remember the guy was a porter. Porter's the person that he let out the cell to help mop, you know, that, right?
Orderlies.
So, so my man Smooth, I was like, yo, come listen to this. And he said, all right, let me hear it. I was like, yo, all right. And I read it to him. He was like, yo, that sound all right. That sound all right. Yeah, I like it. That sound all right. I was like, word, that was the first time I ever felt any bit of, you know, confidence. So I was like, word, you like it? And he was like, yeah. So at that point for me, I just wanted to do it just to help pass the time.
Right. And were you writing?
At that time, I was writing it down.
Because you're known, for people that aren't familiar with Maino, he's probably most famous for making rap without writing it down.
Well, no, Jay-Z done that. A lot of super big artists do that.
Okay, let's talk about that though, because I want to get to that. You said something really profound. You said, this is the first time I felt confident doing something. You couldn't pick that up from hearing your stories from the street, from Rikers, from jail. It seems like you had the most confidence.
Right. Confidence in the wrong way.
Right.
Not confidence in like something creative. Right?
Were you, it seems like this might've been the first time in your life where you were almost self-conscious of a thing. Because art is self-conscious, you know?
It is self-conscious. And then I had to deal with the way I felt, right? About myself.
Yeah.
So how did I feel about myself? I felt maybe I was a gangster. I'm a gangster. Like, I ain't no rapper. So what did that look like in this era? That era, you rapping ass nigga. Right? So that was I was very self-conscious about that, to the point where I didn't want to let people hear me rap. So when I got out the box, I had been writing rhymes for the last 7-8 months. But was I broadcasting it? I didn't want to be the dude in the yard rapping and all that, because I looked at, you know, that might be mistaken as being not
vulnerable.
Right. And I'm not gangster.
Right.
So you entertainment to niggas.
Right.
And I ain't even want to be misconstrued with that. So it was a lot of stuff that I was going through internally about that. And then the biggest thing above all anything was the fact that I refused to tell anybody in the street. Now, I had a lot of support from the street. You know, my friends would come see me. My girls, the girls that I dealt with, they would all come see me. So I was always fortunate. I always had stuff. I always had visits. I was always taken care of.
Right.
I would not tell nobody. Nobody. Because you got to understand what that looked like in this era. Nobody had done a gang of time and went home and became a successful rapper yet. That had not happened yet. That had not happened yet. We've seen, you know, artists that have been to jail and stuff like that and came, like, we knew artists been to jail before. But it's like, I wasn't no rapper to begin with.
And you're doing hard time. You're not just going to jail.
Right.
You're
this
doing
is not 3-4 years.
No, you're doing hard time with lifers.
Right.
Dudes getting cut.
I'm doing rough time.
Yeah.
I'm in the box all the time. I'm at the bottom of the world, right? So if life is a totem pole, prison is at the bottom, right? Yeah. What is SHU? What is
the bottom of the prison?
It's the bottom of the totem pole.
It's a box within a box.
So right. So
within a box.
So if we already at the bottom floor, this must be the basement. So in everything that everything that New York State has, everything that they built in New York State to punish you in prison, every sort of cell that they got built, I've been in everything they built. To punish you. Everything.
And your good time, how to explain how you lose it? Like, obviously explain how you saw your good time 5 years turn into 10 years.
Because getting in trouble. So in my mind, I want to go home in 5 years. I always felt like I'd be home, but again, getting in and out the box. Now, fast forward, I go to my first parole board. With my institutional record, it's like, this is laughable. Like, you think you going home? Chill out, get out of here.
Go write some more raps.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, it just, I didn't have a chance.
Like, for when you got sent to the hole for a year for slashing that dude, how much good time on that did you lose?
So I didn't lose. So you got to understand the indeterminate census is that New York State gives you. So it wasn't about the good time. What it was about was how much time you got to parole. Meaning, I had 5 to 15. Meaning, I was eligible for parole in 5. I can go home in 5. But if I'm up, that 5 can easily turn to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they have in New York State is conditional release, meaning they gotta let me out in 10 as long as I don't lose a lot of good time. Meaning, like, it's hard to describe. Like, I wasn't losing a lot of good time. I was just not making the board.
Right.
I was just not making the board.
Wow. So just for cutting somebody, I mean, yeah, it's terrible. You got to spend a year isolated, but you could still be out in 10.
Right. I lost maybe total 90 days good time.
I mean, dude, if you were in like a small state, you would have got recharged.
I've been recharged.
Oh, really? In jail?
Yeah.
Over what?
Rikers Island.
Can you explain that?
Right. I think I blew trial to a razor. Yeah.
Meaning you
blew trial to a razor is crazy.
That's wild. The meaning you went to trial over a razor?
Yeah.
They charge you with just having one?
I had an assault, right? So they charge cuttings and anything you do to somebody as an assault.
Mm-hmm.
So I beat whatever that was and had a possession charge, and I had a judge trial. And yeah, I lost. And they gave me 6 months for that.
And so did they run that concurrent with your kidnapping sentence?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. But all in all, getting out in 10 with your record, your behavior, to me, it could have been worse.
Right.
I think
I didn't do no complaining.
Right.
I was not doing no complaining.
And I think that's the key. It seems like you have this just embedded in you, is an ability to kind of just roll with it.
Right. Especially if I know that whatever I'm rolling with is based off my actions.
But a lot of people don't have that. How many people in prison are like, man, I ain't supposed to be here. I felt that way for a while.
Yeah, but that's like a delusion.
It's a victim mentality.
Right. Yo, bro, like you did. Like, we got to pay for the shit we did. Like, like, we not blaming nobody else for what we done.
Yeah.
All right. I've made my life harder. So I got to man up.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's coming to prison, going to the box, whatever it is. These are the decisions that I made, and I got to stand on it. Like,
yeah, you have a soldier's mentality, right? And it seems like it's just baked into the cake,
right?
Whereas some people have to learn it.
Yeah, to their detriment, though. Don't learn it too late. Don't spend your life playing victim, and then you losing out. Just accept who you are. Accept what you are and what you're not. Period.
Yeah. Okay, so how long into before you get paroled, How long have you been rapping?
By the time I got paroled, a few years now.
So are you getting good?
Yeah. I think I'm getting good.
Are you getting known around the institutions as a rapper? You still not showing people?
I'm getting more confident, right? Okay. So I'm not going to say that I didn't get to the point where I wasn't rapping. You know, I didn't rap in the yard. I did. You know, I wanted to test it out. I got to that point where I wanted to rap. I got confident. I started to feel like that. I felt like I was really good. Yeah, I felt like I was good. But what I really felt like I wanted to go home and do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go home and give this a try. That was what I was really feeling. I was more or less scheming on that. The idea of going home and becoming an artist. And I would sit back in the day room and I would watch 106 in Park and Rap City, and I would see myself there. Literally, like, man, I want to do this. I would see Cameron and Jadakiss and the Locks and Ja Rule and, and Hove and DMX. And I would be like, yo, I'm coming home to do that. Yeah. Like, I had my mind made up.
Yeah. These are dudes from your neighborhoods, shared the same experiences from your era. And this is when New York hip hop is like, just dominating the world.
Right.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Late 90s, yep. Early 2000s.
What year did you come home?
So I originally came home in 2001.
Okay.
I came home September 2001.
Oof, that's a rough month to come home.
Right after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Originally. But I was home only for 5 months, and then I went back to do another year because I had a violation.
Why'd you violate?
I went to go see my guy. I went to go visit him.
I see. Yeah, and that's just a felon. You're just not supposed to
do that. Yeah.
Okay. Where was he?
He was in another prison. What prison was that? I forgot what jail I went up there, but I wasn't supposed to go up there. I went up there to visit him. On a Sunday, I went to parole on a Tuesday, and he asked me how my weekend was. I told him it was cool. He said, what you do? I said, I ain't do much. I was chilling. He said, stand up. Once he said stand up, all them busting their hands behind your back. God. It's like, oh my God, I wanted to cry. Damn. Like, I'm going back to jail. I just did all this time. I'm going back.
Overall. Humble.
And I ain't even commit a crime. Seriously. This is not even a crime. I'm a real guy. I'm a real nigga. I just went to go see my dog.
Oh my God.
I'm keeping it real. I just went to go see my guy. Like, I'm supposed to do that.
Damn.
I'm supposed to do that.
That is up.
And I went back for that. And then let me tell you, that was the realest, most depressing time I've ever, I think my violation, so we talk about, my ability to accept things and stuff like that and to roll with it. But in my violation, for some reason, it bothered me more than doing time the first time. Because for once, I was outside doing things. I had elevated in my life. I felt like, now I got a car. I had my little Lexus, my Lexus truck. I got a girl. Like, I got things going on.
You got some goals.
I got stuff going on. I had made my first CD. It was Hustle Hard Entertainment Presents Maino. First CD.
And you're still writing?
No, I did this when I was home.
That's what I mean. When you got home, your first CD, were you still writing lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was. No, I wasn't writing them no more. Like I was doing it in my head.
Yeah.
But I had recorded, and I recorded the first CD. We got it all pressed up. Had my jewel cases and everything. We was outside, with the CDs, dropping them off and everything. So I was on my way. I felt like.
Wow.
Then I go back to jail. And I'm in there, and I'm just so depressed. Like, this has got to be the end of the world for me.
Right. I'm
never going to make it. Ever. And I remember people saying, man, they get greater later, champ. And I'm like, hell no. It ain't never. Like, why me? Like, what the I did everything right. I just went to see my nigga, and then he locking me up. And I had made some alliances when I was home. So they give you a hearing, like, to see if they're gonna actually send you back up north or if they're gonna give you another chance. So if they give you another chance, they call it revoke and restore. We're gonna give you another shot. So I had a lawyer, right? And then I went and got these letters from Foxy brother. He wrote me a letter.
Foxy Brown's brother.
Foxy Brown, Gavin. And to this day, I love him to this day because that meant so much to me. It had the logo at the top, right? And it talked, Jermaine is outside doing, becoming an artist, right? And I had a letter from J Records. My uncle had got me that letter from a guy, Richard Palmese. I'll never forget his name. And he sent me a letter. And I went into that, and I had my CD. And I went in there and I said, yo, look, I'm outside doing something. Here go these letters from the music business. I'm not signed yet, but this is what I was actually doing. Here's my CD. And he looked at that, and the judge, he was like, I said, I went up there I didn't know that I could not do that, right? But at the same time, it's not like I'm not trying to commit a crime. Like, this is what I'm trying to do, yeah. And he said, all right, you know what? I respect that. He gave me revoke and restore. I won. Do you understand how happy I was?
Oh, so they wanted to give you...
Listen. I had been in jail almost 3 months by this time. Almost. About 2 months. I won the hearing. They said, okay, revoke and restore. They stamped the paperwork. I signed. They said, in 2 weeks, you're going home. 2 weeks. I waited every day. I'm on the phone calling, yo, I'll be back. You know what I mean? Yo, it's on. It's on.
Call your girl, hey, get ready.
We get ready. Like, everything is on. It's up. Like, I'm coming home. We getting back to it.
Yeah.
Slow 2 months ain't nothing. And then the 2 weeks started to tick. And the 2 weeks came, and they never called my name. And the time just kept going by. They never called my name. And I called home. My brother 80 told me, he said, yo, them people ain't letting you go, bro. I said, what? He said, yeah, Albany reversed that decision. What? You got a year. Wow. Oh my God. You talking about depressed? I got a year. He said, yeah, they wanted to give you 2, but they gave you a year, bro. You going up north. Call my girl at the time. She tell me she pregnant. What? It's like, man, I ain't never gonna make it, man. I ain't never gonna be nothing in my life. Ever gonna be nothing.
That's crazy. Somebody at the capital of the state was like, wait a minute, this guy.
Yeah, so apparently, that had to go through another channel. That had to be like approved. Like, okay, all the paperwork from New York come up there. They had to stamp it and be like, okay, cool. They had to sign off on it or whatever. Somebody saw that and was like, oh, hell no. Yeah. Give him another year. A year?
Wow.
12 months? You taking more time out of my life for what?
Crazy.
It's not that, like, is it that bad?
It's not that serious.
You talking about a level of depression. I couldn't talk. I couldn't eat. I didn't want nothing. I felt so bad. And the first time in my life, I really got, I talk about this moment that I was in. And I wasn't a real dark place. Cause I felt like it wasn't just doing the time. It was the fact that I felt like I was going to be a failure, that I was never, ever going to amount to anything. All this rap dream, all this about going home, it ain't gonna happen, bro. Because my biggest fear was to be one of those dudes that always came in and out of prison for the rest of his life. That was my biggest fear. I never wanted to be that. I always looked at doing my time as I'm just passing through. Yeah, sure, I've been here 8, 9 years and I get in trouble with the rest of them, but I ain't no jail nigga. I ain't gonna be no jail nigga. I ain't never gonna be no jail nigga.
And plus now you've lived some life.
So now I live in that little 5 months time. Now I lived more in that 5 months than I had lived ever in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm honest, I had lived more in that 5 months than I ever lived in my life, in my entire life.
Yeah. So it's real hard to go back when you got something going on the streets. If you see a comfortable dude in jail who's having fun, that guy ain't got going on. I
was so pressed, man.
Where did you do your the rest of that parole violation?
They sent me to a place called Gowanda.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. And it was, I think it was an old hospital that they turned into a prison. And what was cool about that is that they had rooms. And they had like 6-man rooms, 8-man rooms. And then I was for some reason lucky to end up in a 2-man room. It was just me and one other person. Yeah.
Were you writing?
No. I was that depressed that I ain't writing no rhymes. I ain't never gonna be no rapper.
So you kind of gave up in your mind.
I gave up.
Wow.
I gave up.
Damn, that's hard.
I gave up.
And now there's like all these bloods that are in the system now, and you got to watch everybody getting slashed and killed. And it's like,
I wasn't worried about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't worrying about so much of the prison action or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can handle myself in that aspect, but I didn't want to get in no trouble neither.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to chill out, stay out the way, and then get back home. But I was depressed. And then because I just felt like this was the end of the road. But I snapped out of it as I got shorter. My son was born while I was there.
Yeah.
And I started to come out of that hole I was in. And I started to write again.
Yeah.
I started to get the feeling back. I started to start planning in my mind about what I was going to do. I started to really get excited about it at some point, you know?
So you got out in 2003?
Yeah.
For the last time?
March 5th.
March 5th, 2003, the last time Jermaine Maino saw the inside of a facility.
Yeah.
Voluntarily. Involuntarily.
Yeah. I got out. Yeah, I got out, took a plane home. Yeah, I was out of there.
Okay, so I think you really blew up in what, 2009?
2008 is when my first real single came out, and which was High Hater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get out in 2003, 2008 is when, my first real single come out. But I've had, some moments prior to that. The song that actually got me on was a song called Rumors. That was 2005. That got me signed to Universal back then.
Okay. So yeah, explain, just real quickly how, it was such a different time, 2003. There was still the CD game.
CDs,
50 Cent was all over. Mixtapes were huge.
DVDs. So
yeah.
I got into the mixtape circuit, but then there was something that was on the rise back then, which was the DVD game. The DVD game was something like a visual mixtape where it was like, now you're getting, rappers, we shooting videos.
Right.
On the DVDs. Like, it was, it was different. So you Smack DVD, Cocaine City, The Come Up, this one, that one. Like, it was just, and to be on the DVDs, like, people starting to see you, like, yo, man, I know you from the DVDs. Right. So it was like, I was getting popular from being on the DVDs.
Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then YouTube started to get big around 2005. And so people would cut those DVDs and then put them on YouTube. And that's how guys like me, college kids at the time, got introduced to a lot of these underground rappers. I think
before YouTube got big, it was MySpace that was popping. Everybody was on MySpace.
Yeah.
And, the DVDs, MySpace. And then I think YouTube was there, but I don't know if we were really in tune with it, as as much.
Were you starting to pop in New York?
So the thing about the DVDs is that the DVD distribution was so crazy that you would be in Atlanta and somebody would be like, yo, I seen you on such and such.
Wow.
And it felt good. I met T.I. that way, right? The fact that he had seen me on a DVD, you know, I was a fixture in the DVD circuit. I was one of the guys that was always on the DVDs, you know? Yeah, I had met 2 Chainz that way too. Back then, you know, he had seen me and he, yo, that joint, yeah, I seen you on it. It's crazy. So I had met people and they would know me from being in the circuit at that point, you know?
And so you're getting better and you're putting out more material. What year did you feel like, oh, I'm like a professional? Like I found my voice.
No, I never felt. I don't think that you could call yourself a professional, especially back then, until you had at that point, I mean, it's different now, but a major record deal.
Right.
Then you could say you're a professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, we trying to make it happen. We trying to get heard. We trying to get out there.
Right.
But until a major record label actually says you're good enough for us to invest in and spend money on and put you out and help see you become a star or whatever, then you just, you know.
You're a hustler.
Yeah.
You're trying to get on.
Trying to get on, yeah.
And for you, that was Universal Music in 2005?
Universal, Motown Universal.
Okay.
I signed to them, I want to say, 2000, was that January 2005?
Oh, 20-year anniversary you just had.
Yeah.
So how much was that deal worth?
I don't want to say all together about 700 grand maybe, because it was, I think at that point, just the typical artist deal, right? Meaning most of that is the budget, you know, out of that. I think my advance was only about 75,000, which was decent for not having like a super cosign or whatever, you know. So out of that, I remember they gave me 50 up front, but then the lawyer, so I ended up with 30 something, and then I had 25,000 in payments for a few months. It was like 3,000 a month for a few months or whatever. So that's how it works. So when people say, "Oh, my deal was $1 million," you ain't get $1 million, but the deal was about I think 600, 700,000. You know, all together.
And how did you learn the business? Because so many rappers, so many artists just got raked over the coals by these predatory, you know, record companies throughout the years, right? Like, did you have a good business sense to like not spend your advance or to you know, budget everything properly?
No, I'm not gonna say that, but I will say that the music business is not designed to make artists wealthy. I don't think nobody's recording deal is designed that way. Because if you look at how a recording deal is structured, it's almost impossible. Like, how am I gonna get rich off this? So, you know, when we talk about this one get jerked, that one get jerked, I think that everybody had for lack of better terms, a not so good record contract. You know, I could think maybe based off of what was, you know, my second record contract was with Atlantic. I got like 150,000 or something like that for my pocket. It was a bigger deal. It was, you know, I think in the realms of that, maybe we could say it was fair, but what's fair? Are we really gonna get rich off this? No.
You get rich by becoming, how do you get rich today and back then as a rapper?
Wow.
Obviously ticket shows, live sales, right? That's the live performance.
Becoming a brand. That is the key.
Yeah.
to increase your value to the point where you are walking money, basically. You know, whether it's selling merch, live shows, or tours, everything, brand partnerships. You know, when we talk about brand partnerships, we seen this morning, Chanel just made Kendrick Lamar the ambassador. That is huge.
Huge.
Right? Chanel, which don't even probably even step into the urban space, and definitely not with males.
Right.
So those are all of the things that lend towards you actually becoming, you know, financially secure. It's building the brand. That is it. It's the brand. You know, you have to be valuable to people that want to do business with you on all levels.
Yeah. I think Spotify streams, though. I think artists can make money off streaming now.
What? You know how much money, you know how many streams it take to make some real money? Like,
we get streamed. We do pretty well as a podcast. Now, maybe it's different. Why? I don't know why it'd be different with music. Why
not? Because you're going through a record company.
Right. And that's why I think independent is the way that cats are going now.
Yeah. And if you encoded the record yourself, that's a whole nother talk, though.
Okay, so why did it take you? I first heard of you in 2009. I'll never forget you because that was the height of my drug dealing. That's when I was like really on.
Ex-drug dealer here.
So yeah, that's how the whole show started.
Right.
So just me talking about that. Right. And people being like, nah, not him. Yeah, it was you and Rick Ross. You guys were just popping that summer. The summer of 2009. God damn, I felt good. I was driving a Dodge Charger. Or was it a Magnum?
So you really there right now.
Yeah, I am there, dude. I'm there. I'm thinking about just hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Charger right now. Bro. Thinking about it.
Bro, I had like the phone that popped out. This is before the smartphone, but I can't remember. It wasn't a Razor, but I was living, dude.
You was living.
And so why did it take you 4 years after your first Universal deal to kind of like really break out to the masses?
Everything takes time.
Of course.
You know, this music thing is not a overnight thing. No. So I got signed in maybe 2005, right? Early 2005. They wound up dropping me in 2007. No, yeah, roughly 2007, early 2007. I wound up signing to Atlantic the same year. But I didn't come out to next year, to 2008.
I see.
So everything is just it's a process.
Right.
You know, we were working, we were pushing, but it was just a process.
And you have like lots of mixtapes.
Yeah.
You only have 2 albums.
Well,
2 fully.
No.
Is that a misnomer?
Yeah, that's because the line between what we call a mixtape and a project, somewhere along that line, it got blurred. Mixtapes used to be where we took people's beats and rapped over them.
Yeah.
But I've been stopped doing mixtapes. Almost everything I put out is an album. Right? So KOB 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are albums. The project Lobby Boys with Jim Jones, that's an album.
That's your newest thing, right?
No,
one of your newer things?
That's one of my newest things.
Okay.
That came out in 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we formed the group Lobby Boys, and yeah, that's an album.
Yeah, you is really good.
Thank you.
It's really good.
Thank you.
So I don't know. Maybe you just got to update your Wikipedia page.
No, that's. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we should update that.
Yeah, because they call them mixtapes.
They call them mixtape. Don't call my shit no mixtape, because I tell people all the time that, like, when you say mixtape, that almost feel like a throwaway. I don't like the message that even sends. We ain't making no mixtapes.
Right, you're putting real
projects.
equity.
And if we actually paying for samples, what?
How is that a mixtape?
This is what I'm telling you. Samples, and it's coming through a record label. It's coming through distribution. These are call it a project if you want.
Right,
call it don't call it whatever you want to call it. Don't call it no mixtape.
Yeah, you're not taking other people's beats for free and rapping
that
over.
day over with. That been over with.
Right.
No, we go in the studio making real songs.
You think it's a better time now to be a rapper? To be what, I don't want to call you an underground rapper, but to be this provincial rapper, this real New York,
New York, what is that?
Regional kind of, Jesus, now I'm scared.
No, that's up.
Well, do you know what middle class? You're a middle class rapper.
Middle class rapper.
Right.
What does that mean?
Meaning like you're not somebody who's not a superstar, somebody who's not Kendrick, but somebody who's clearly not a mixtape rapper, like that guy
in the middle
that's eating,
right,
like
it's living,
exactly. Is it a better time to be that guy now than it was back in 2005? Like, are more rappers able to eat now without having to be like, I think, giant stars? Yeah, you know, like, cause what's the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter is that we're not gonna all be Drake. We're not going to all be Kendrick. Right.
We're not going to all be Kanye, right? Or Hove or whoever. But that doesn't prevent us from making a living. And that's the name of the game. That doesn't prevent us from building brands. That doesn't prevent us from doing business. That doesn't prevent us from doing all of the things that we want to do, right? In our realm, right? And the possibilities to do business and to partner up with brands and to do so many things. I'm doing more now than I've ever been doing.
Dude, you're working.
Right? And so when you think about, when you say like regional, right? I've had music that took me across the world, right? So we got to understand that my biggest song is All the Above. Like, we've traveled, that wasn't regional.
Right.
Right? Do I wish I had 20 more of those? Absolutely. But everything don't go the way we want it to go, right? And people need to understand that hit records are not just made, they actually marketed. And there's a lot to go behind the songs that you're hearing, you know, 30 times a day. Like,
do you consciously sit down sometimes, like with your team, and say, let's make a hit? Like, not something that you necessarily want to do. Like, for the hip hop heads like me, you're obviously putting out that we want that gutter Brooklyn drug dealing. But then do you say, okay,
I don't make that.
Let's try to.
I don't make no gutter. No, I make music for whatever, for whoever. I make fun music. The song that I got out now is a fun song. It's called Shade Room. You know, we just did the remix with Remy Ma. It's that's fun. Right. That's party. That's you know, we having a good time, which is a part of my lifestyle. It's a hit to me. Right?
Yeah.
But what you gotta understand is that the textures of the song, when you hear it, may sound like a hit, but if I don't have the resources of $200,000, $300,000 and a record company to go behind it, then it might not live up to what the potential of it is. So that's when I say hit records are not made; they are marketed. There's a machine.
You got to pay to get those put on every radio station, and
you know, it's niggas is not winning just because they better, right?
That's a fact.
They're not winning just because it's just that good. You know what I mean? So every record has to have a plan. It has to have resources. It has to have a certain level of commitment.
Yeah.
For it to be where it needs to go. Right? Everything is up for sale. Right? So these top 20s, top 10s, top 15s, like, it's not just because it's that good.
No, most of it is not.
Yeah. So when you don't, the general public don't know that though. So when you don't have that, it may feel like, oh, I don't hear you because you're just not that good. And that's not true.
No, not at all.
It's not true.
The same is true with comedy. I mean, because that's my background is stand-up comedy. That's what I started doing when I got out of jail. I moved to LA and I started doing stand-up comedy. This podcast came later, but Yeah, the usually the guy that everybody loves is pretty unfunny because the masses of people are, you know, pretty fat and stupid, right? So, but there's so much money now to get on the internet from building a brand that you might have never heard of a comedian, but he sells out. He's making 50 G's a weekend.
There you go.
You know?
So that's the thing. Build your brand. No matter what it, and
it's a great time.
It's a great time. And it doesn't have to be rap. How many people that we've watched build brands and they not rapping? They're not rapping. You don't have to rap.
Well, before we plug your, I just want to talk about the process, because you're right. Jay-Z was the first one to kind of popularize, like, I just go into the booth with a concept and I just rap.
Right.
How true is that?
Yeah, I believe that. But the thing about that is when I was doing that, I was in prison and I thought I was the only person in the world that did that. So then when I read a magazine and said that he did that, oh, wow. I thought that I was the only person in the world that did that.
Wow. Yeah.
Because at that time, like, I never seen nobody I was just laying on my bed thinking of raps, and then I wouldn't write them down.
Okay, so then, but songs still have to have like 16 bars broken up by.
We wasn't doing. We just Wild Wild West. You just rapping,
right?
You
but now that you're on and there's studio time you got to pay for, and there's the engineer and the beat maker. How do you continue to rap without writing anything down, but also organize them and compress them into 16 beats or 16 bars before
rapping without,
you know what I mean?
Without writing it down is the same thing as writing it down. You're just holding it in your mind. So there's no difference.
That's incredible.
It's the same thing. There's no difference because you think a thought and then you just write it down, right?
Right.
So imagine thinking a thought and just holding it right there. It's the same thing.
But you can compress that into a neat 16 bars when you need it to be?
Yeah, or sometimes I do this. Sometimes I think of, because every song is not going to be 16 bars. Some bars might be 12. Some songs is 12 bars. Song I got out now, I probably rap only 8 bars, but whatever it is. Or it could be longer. 64 bars, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes my process is I do 8, 10 bars or whatever I got in my head right now, and I go record it. And I listen to it and come back and I build from that. And I build on it.
Right.
You know, I might record the first, 4 bars, first 8 bars, and then I build from that.
It's incredible. To me, it's like, I smoke a lot of weed. I can't remember anything.
Oh, see, that's the thing. You can't remember.
Wow.
Right.
And that's been your process since what year?
Day one. Since I got out.
Crazy. Have you met the other Brooklyn guys? Have you met Jay? Have you met?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What's your proudest accomplishment in your rap career these last 22 years?
Man, just being able to turn the narrative around and making my mother have an opportunity to see me turn that around.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing me doing something with my life, something different, because I never, no matter what, even to this day, I never saw this. I never saw this. Like, never. Still to this day, I'm like, man, rappers, like, people take pictures of me like that. I never saw this. I never saw this because I still reflect on being young and confused and not having direction.
Right.
Which is so important, right? And not having an outlet. I didn't know what I was feeling, right? I still reflect on that so much so that when I think about how far I came, it's just still unbelievable to me.
Yeah, you're grateful.
Super grateful.
And you're that guy in the yard embarrassed to tell that you were rapping.
Right. I just didn't want to tell nobody. But, I always think about, like, what if I tell somebody I rap? If I told one of my homies over the phone, I'm rapping now. You know what he was gonna say to me? Man, you ain't no rapper, man. Get out of here. And then I was so delicate in my mind. and so not confident and secure about rap that I would have said, you know what, you're right. I'm not. And we wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Yeah. Well, you push through, man. Your longevity is rare. That's another thing that really stands out is like you've always kept, because I go in and out of like going deep into rap.
Right.
But your name's always been there.
Right.
And I really think you're one of New York's finest when it comes to rap, bro.
Thank you.
And
man.
Robin.
No Robin, man.
Tell us about plug away. Tell us about your Instagram, your podcast that you do on iHeart, all of that stuff.
I do the show with Angela Yee sometimes on Power 105. That's iHeart. It's called The Way Up with Angela Yee. And I come down and we make it fun. It's dope. It's a super dope show. But that's radio. It's a syndicated show in about 50 markets. Nice. So it's big radio. It's not like, some local thing. And they take the footage and run it as a podcast. Yeah. But I got a lot going on, man. So just, a lot of TV things in the works. My book is coming out very, very soon. It's called The Art of Freedom, which I'm very, very proud of this because we talked a lot about what I went through, going to prison, getting out of prison, right? But so this is my views. This is my philosophy on what I feel like are the steps to be successful at staying free, right? So I wanted to give back and have something for the guys that are either just getting out of prison or about to get out of prison. So now they got this book. It's not a big book, and they got something that could actually, read a chapter a day. Just some inspiration, some motivation on, how to continuously have the thought in your mind to own who you are and stay free, man.
And persistence.
100,000,000%.
I heard that quote from like a CEO. He might have been like Ray Kroc, the guy who franchised McDonald's. He might have said that, like, the ability to just stay consistent and persistent goes way further than talent.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Consistency gonna beat talent any day.
Any day.
It's dudes that I know for a fact were better than me in prison.
At rapping.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
But didn't have the ability to get out here and stay committed to what it takes to become an artist. You can rap, but becoming an artist is something totally different. So I was persistent on what I wanted to do. I was consistent on where I needed to be. So that's the difference. I've seen dudes that I felt like deserved, a shot, and it's probably like a small crime that they didn't get a chance to actually, have a shot.
Yeah. I don't know how you teach the strength that you have, just that ability to just go and live in the moment and go day by day by day, moving towards your goals. It takes a lot of strength. I don't even know that I have it. I don't have whatever this is calm Zen power that you have. I don't know how you teach people that, because this is something you're born with, but I'm going to read your book because I want to see if I can learn how to harness some of that power.
Right.
Really, that's what power is. It's not taking somebody's chain. It's the ability to stand as a man firmly on the earth and not be swayed about by life, the winds of life.
Right, because it's going to be so many things that'll try to knock you off your course. Whether that's temptation, whether that's greed, whether that's, thinking that, there's a shortcut, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Steady your course.
Yeah.
Keep moving, but a lot of that also is being honest with who you are.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's okay if it takes time for people to figure that out.
It's okay.
Hustle Hard Maino.
Hustle Hard.
Maino Hustle Hard on Instagram. That's where you're always promoting all your so we'll put definitely. Links. We'll put links to the radio show, to
everything,
to your all your links and all your. And let's go back to Brooklyn sometime, dude.
Let's do it.
Bro, let me ask you this. Do you, if you went to Brooklyn now, you would probably pass like a vegan restaurant and you're like, oh, I shot somebody right there. Does that blow your mind?
Absolutely. Funny thing, I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about I go to Brooklyn, we was on I ride bikes.
Right.
Yeah. So, and a lot of times when I'm riding, you might not know it's me because I keep the full face mask on, my glasses on, so you might not know it's me, and I came through and it was a corner of Myrtle and Notion. I remember, having a shootout there before. So, but the thing is, I come to Brooklyn, the city gave me my own day, right? So, Maino Day. Last year was the first, the first annual Maino Day last year, and it was really, really dope. About over 2,000 people outside. It was
so cool.
I'm talking about blocks blocked off. I got stuff for the kids, rides, bouncy houses, roller coasters. Then on the other end, I got a stage for the local artists. I got give backs. I got just a festival style give back to the community. Really, 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 really dope. Great. Yeah, really dope.
Oh, it must feel good.
Yeah, it feels really good. So we're doing it again this year. So I don't know if you're in town, but it'll be really dope.
What day is it?
August 16th.
Yeah, I might be here. I'm here every month for a week. Okay. So if I'm here, I'll pull up.
Say that.
Bro, say less.
Right.
All right, Maino. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking a chance in some weird white guys podcast.
It's all good.
Appreciate it.
It's all good.
Maino, hustle hard, Maino.
That's
and we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thank you so much.